Oh. Hari Om and greetings from Niagara Falls. In Kena Upanishad, there's a chapter that describes all of the devas, Vayu, Agni, Indra. They're all celebrating their defeat of the asuras. They're eating, they're drinking. And then a being manifests outside of their palace where this party is happening. And they're creeped out by this. They want to know who this being is. So one by one, the devas go and try to find out who is this being. And this being is chiding them for their celebration. This being is questioning, what did they do for this victory? And naturally, the devas are infuriated by this, so they start to challenge this being, and they can't do anything to this being. In fact, this being picks up a blade of grass and says, burn this Agni, blow this Vayu, and they can't do anything. Each time the devas go back to Indra and report, and this is one incident where Indra learns his lesson, and he goes to that being and knows that this is not a deva, this is Mahadeva. In this case, it's Parvatiji. She is in this case, an icon of Brahman. So now why am I sharing this with you? A blade of grass is a very significant, iconic entity in our scriptures. A blade of grass is the equivalent to all of the pleasure, all of the possession, and all of the position of all of us. So now you look around at how much pleasure we would have experienced just today. A fresh cup of black coffee, a bed with a duvet, a BMW that has rollers on your back while you drive. How much pleasure we would have all experienced. Possessions. All of the homes where there's classes, ashrams. This ashram itself is worth $1.2 million. Let's calculate all of that. And position. How many people follow us on social media? How many people we employ? And all of it is just a blade of grass. Because none of that, no combination, no permutation can be equated to peace. And that's what we want. That's what we need. Our scriptures are too vast. We're studying Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam itself is 18,000 shlokas. And here we have an opportunity to study the short notes of our scriptures through Upadesha Sara, 30 shlokas. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is 700. This is 30. These short notes are teaching us that what we feel to be inaccessible, that is independent joy, is accessible. Just like these teachings we feel are inaccessible, but they're accessible. We've been studying together for 26 weeks in Sanskrit and mostly English. And so the knowledge, the nature, which I feel to be inaccessible, is also accessible. In Shloka 26, Sri Ramana is trying to bring to our attention how we know anything. To think about how we know anything. Here in Niagara, I just completed a fear workshop, Face Everything and Rise, and one of the points I shared was to contemplate on fear. That fear doesn't make me healthier, doesn't make me smarter. It is wasteful, so why do I entertain it? And I shared this contemplation is called vichara. It's called right thinking. Sri Ramana is trying to get us to think about thinking, to think about our experiences. How? How do we know anything, everything? And we know through jnana. We know through jnana because jnana makes us quieter and quieter and quieter until we come to internalize and appreciate that we are awareness. So how do we know anything? It is awareness, but I can't just jump to awareness. I can write it down that my nature is chit. I chant Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. I chant it, but I don't feel it. So to bring me to that awareness, I need jnana. Knowledge is that which makes me quieter and quieter and quieter, where I don't need to think so much. I'm more tuned into how thinking even happens. Everyone caught that? Okay. We'll move on to Shloka 27, and this completes another section of Upadesha Sara. After this, there's only one more section. Please repeat after me. Jnana varjita jnana hina chit. Jnana varjita jnana hina chit. Jnanamasti kim jnatumantaram. Jnanamasti kim jnatumantaram. Varjita means without, devoid. Jnana here means the knowledge that we're all used to. The details, the information of how I get to know something. So it's devoid of this. It's without this. What? Chit. That comes in the first line, the last word. So we'll focus on this some. All of the knowledge that we have is always knowledge of. Do you have pure knowledge? All of the knowledge we have it's not pure knowledge. I don't want to call it impure knowledge, but it's knowledge of. It's not knowledge. And putting this in an example, we know of God, but we don't know God. See that of? That of shows that separation, that lack of closeness. The jnana mentioned here is knowing. The knowing that we experience is always in terms of thinking. I know this chair. How is it happening? By thinking. I know what will happen tomorrow. How does it happen? Through thinking. For those in the meditation and life course, I've been highlighting the subtle body. How the sense organs carry this experience or impulse to the mind, to the intellect, to the memory, to the ego. Those are all thoughts. It is through thinking. And if you remember, many shlokas ago I'd mentioned, all that I know is not I. All that I know laptop, I know hands, I know thoughts, I know ego, which means I am not ego, thoughts, hand, laptop. So Sri Ramana is sharing here that the jnana that even he's teaching is a means and not the ends. Fine. The next quarter, ajnana hina. This awareness, you are also without hina, without ajnana, non-knowledge or ignorance. Okay. We know, we're aware of all of the things we know and all of the things we don't know, correct? We'll say it again. I'm aware that I know English, barely, and I'm also aware that I don't know Russian. I don't know how to speak Russian. I wouldn't be able to tell the letters. See, I'm aware of both of them, which shows me that jnana is a means and not an ends. It shows me that this awareness is present even when all else is absent. Ajnana here you can interpret as ignorance. You can also interpret it as absence. This chit doesn't need knowledge, doesn't need ignorance. Chit is chit. Chit is awareness. We use words like swayambhu, which means self-shining, self-evident. The word that I like to think of most is what we described as sat. Sat is that which is ever present. Whether there's things in front of that ever present or there's not things in front of that ever present, this is ever present. So we are awareness. In front of awareness comes knowledge or ignorance, presence or absence. We are deeper. In the second skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam, at the beginning, Bhagwan's smile is described. Okay, let me give you some context to this. Raja Parikshita asks Rishi Shuka, what should a dying person do? What a cool question. What should a dying person do? That should be your raw this week. Every day find someone and ask them, what should a dying person do? And Rishi Shuka says, you should meditate on the arupa, rupa of the Creator. You should meditate on the formlessness of the infinite. Now, how is that possible? So then he says you should contemplate on the Vishwarupa. And Rishi Shuka gives a shloka describing his Ishta Devata, who's Bhagwan Narayana, and his smile is described as the gentlest of smiles. Right now I've taught Vyasa. I say one, then he turns around, and then he says two, and then I say two, and he puts his chin up and he squishes his face, and then three, he just runs with his hands open, almost like a surrender. But the way he squishes his face, like his teeth and his nose, it's so gentle. And I think that this is an active 2-year-old boy. Imagine Mahavishnu's smile. And commentators have shared about his smile that Bhagwan Vishnu's smile is that which deludes and enlightens. Deludes and enlightens. His deluding smile is the one that brought Prince Arjuna to fear and brought Prince Arjuna out of fear. Brought Raja Parikshita to suffering and brought him to Rishi Shuka. But if you go deeper into this, remember I said that's the Vishwarupa, that he's smiling. But Bhagwan Vishnu's real form is Arupa. There is no form, there is no smile. Now what that means for us is that there's no ignorance and there's no knowledge. There is no bondage and there's no enlightenment. I should move fast. I see questions coming. Jnanam asti kim. Is there another knowledge that is actually awareness? Is there another knowledge that will help me know who I am? Sri Ramana is being sarcastic here, that there's no knowledge that can be awareness. Knowledge is always in Dvaita, and you are Advaita. So he's being sarcastic here. If there's any knowledge, if there's any knowing of this knowledge, it's not the chits, as in the awareness, it is called Chidabhasa. You all read this term. Chidabhasa is the chits, that's possessive, abhasa. Do you know what abhasa means in English? Phantom. Chidabhasa means the phantom awareness. Abhasa also means fallacy, the false chit. So when I live my life and I say, I know that icon over there, and I know that person over there, and I know how smart I am, and I know how dumb I am, that's not who I am. That's all the phantom. That's all the layer on top of that chit. That's what is meant here, is that there is no other knowledge. Knowledge is always in terms of not I, separation. So as we're reading all of this and listening to all of this, it seems really radical. Here you're just praising that we've been studying together for 26 weeks, studying the essence of all of the scriptures, and what's the point of all of this? See, there's two types of knowledge. Like there's two types of Maya. The two types of Maya highlighted in Ramayana is Avidya Maya and Vidya Maya. The Avidya Maya keeps me and deepens me in Maya, in the phantom, in the fallacy. Whereas Vidya Maya takes me out of this Maya, of the phantom, of the fallacy. So Vidya Maya is like the scriptures. Vidya Maya is like the teachers. So all that we are exposed to, it is the Chidabhasa that is knowing this knowledge to clue in that there is no abhasa, there is only Chit. In Atma Bodha, the shloka that refers to this, put your hand up if you know the shloka in Atma Bodha. You can just conceptualize the shloka in Atma Bodha that is exactly like what we're studying now. There's one shloka where, when there's algae in water, you throw in this powder. In English we call it flock. And all of that algae goes to the bottom and kind of disintegrates. So both the powder and the algae goes away. With the knowledge that we're invoking, the knowledge and the lie both go away. And I described Chit, or awareness, as that which is ever present, whether there's the knowledge or the lie, ever present. Jnatum antaram, no knowledge is needed to be the self. Knowledge is only needed to not be the self, but no knowledge is needed to be the self. So now I'm going to bring up a message which I shared with all of our Devis at our Devi retreats, in our Devi study groups. A message I share is that you are not the illuminator, you are illumination. I don't know why, and this perhaps happens with Devis more, that when asked, who are you? I'm this person's wife. I'm this person's mother, I'm this person's daughter. You're a Devi. You are illumination. Because you're illumination, you can illumine. Because all that is illumined is inert. All that is illumined is inert. Because if it's illumined, it means it doesn't have its own light. Someone who believes they're a reference point can never be happy. When someone knows they are independent, they are swatantra, only that person can be happy. The rad earlier this week was the secret to independence. Depend on the ones who depend on the one. The one is independent, is illumination. All in front of that is illumined, which means it doesn't have its own light, which means it's inert. Very heavy thoughts, but very lovely thoughts. Last message. We have to work on unlearning our relationship with all objects. Objects means articles, beings, circumstances. We have to unlearn our relationship with them because we have to unlearn that there are any articles, beings, or circumstances. There isn't. All that is illumined is inert, which means it is never present. So first let me unlearn my relationship with articles, beings, and circumstances, which means I should slow down my dependency on them. And as I become quieter and stiller, then I will feel that there are no articles, beings, or circumstances. There is only Chit, only awareness. What knowledge, what ignorance. Na muktihi, na bandha. Together, jnana varjita, jnana hina chit, jnanamasti kim, jnatumantaram. Oh.